Let's do this. Here we go, here we go, here we go. One more again, one more again. Let's make it happen. Okay. All you wanna do is boogie. It's all the way live. We're all the way live. What's up, people? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? So here we go again. We're back at it one more time. Again this week, just like the week before and the week before that. I'm here to do what you want me to do. Um, Tonight we're gonna do a little of this and a little of that. I'm gonna try to hurry up and get out of here tonight. A, because I want to see something, um, and we'll talk about it a little bit. But I'm caught up in between. I'm doing well. How are you doing, Jen? So what's up, people? I see a couple people here. When you come on in, do me a favor. Show me a thumbs up. Show me some love. Let me know that you're in the house, and I'll come right back at you. Um, couple crazy things going on, but that's the world that we live in right now. Everything is bananas. Everything is bananas. So I've had the pleasure of talking to a couple of you people on the phone. You people, we people, us people. You people are my people. So when I say you people, it's not a derogatory thing. It's just an expressive way of us saying from all of me to all of you. So with that being said, okay, I'm trying to get these cameras straight. Okay, okay. Want some more light on this side. So that's a little bit better. It's all the way live. Remember Lakeside? A lot of funk bands came out of Ohio. Lakeside was just one of them. Come along and ride on a fantastic voyage. She said, I'm the captain of this vessel. We want to take it on a groove. Yep, so I got a couple things going on tonight. Want to see what's happening with you people. So when you come on in, a couple of people told me they had a problem in participating. I know that I have a problem with Facebook sometimes trying to bring people up on the camera, but I thought I didn't know I had a problem for as people typing comments on YouTube. So if that is the case, let me know, and I'll try to address it as best I can. I took the liberty of going on YouTube earlier and try to make sure that my problems were taken care of. But I don't know if that is the case. I know one thing that makes me mad is everybody that has something to do with the computer wants to um, take a proprietary role and have you go through them to do any type of um, programming, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, in order to use the computer, you have to go through all of these they're fighting Google and what's the other one? Good evening to you. Good evening, good evening. I see a couple people over here on the other side. Drop in, give me some thumbs up, say hello. My YouTube people, I see you in the house tonight. Somebody on YouTube told me they had some problems in responding last week, so I want to know if that's the case or the trouble. I'm gonna go ahead and put my jacket on since I decided I was gonna get pretty tonight. Let me go on and do it all the way. Yeah, I don't wear this stuff anymore. This suit is about, I don't know, at least 10 years old. At least 10 years old, and I'm glad that I could still wear it. Um, so, with that being said, I also heard from a couple of my people that they like to see me dress up and look a little bit more professional. So, I'm taking that to heart and following suit. Yeah, I used to have a buku, a plethora of ties, but since I stopped doing what I was doing, since I stopped dressing every day, it seems that somehow some of my ties have disappeared. I don't know if it was the apartment complex that I was living in and people coming into my apartment and taking things. And it's funny because if you don't take inventory of your stuff when you live in apartments and that sort of thing, um, your stuff could come up missing and you don't know until you're later in the game. So with that being said, I'm gonna say good evening. How y'all doing? How you doing? How you doing? And I guess some of y'all told me I clean up nicely, like somehow I look like a bum most of the time. No, it's just that my uniform has changed. Now that I'm retired, what I usually wear is just, excuse me, is my Florida uniform is shorts, flip flops, or slides, something to that effect. So yeah, things have definitely changed. My uniform has definitely changed. So I'm gonna do a couple things tonight. I'm gonna be on both sides of the spectrum. I'm gonna talk about a little bit what's happening as far as politics is concerned because um, there's a couple noteworthy things I want to mention, and then I'm gonna, oh excuse me, then I'm gonna talk about a conversation that me and a friend of mine, oh dear friend, she said I could use the conversation, just don't use her name, but the reason I decided to use it, excuse me, let me. It's something like when I get ready to do a show or something, I need something to date my vocal cords or something to that effect. So with that being said, uh, let me take a little sip and offer you guys a taste. Would y'all like some? Oh, okay. You wouldn't? Okay. All right. All right. All right, all right, all right, all right. I tell you what, from now on with my show, there's going to be an unwritten rule. I had some dental work done, so shut up. Me and a old sister friend of mine was talking about this last week, and I said that I was having problems pronouncing certain words and that my saliva glands were in hyperactivity. And she said she just thought I was reading, but with this ongoing dental work, have a problem pronouncing certain words that are usually easy to pronounce and so forth and so on. That and I feel like, I got this juicy mouth. Shut up, shut up, shut up, all of you nasty people. Uh, that is so mellow. Now, let me just go on the record and say for the record that I usually don't drink this much during the week. Usually I just drink when I'm doing my show and I'll sip on something, to deal with any type of postnasal drip that I'm having and what have you. So this is for medicinal purposes, first of all. And then it does help me in pacing myself and what have you. So last week I called the show back to the matter at hand and I wanted to talk about some of the things that was going on. And then saying back to the matter at hand, I was given a signal that we were getting close and I had to talk about some things that were politically oriented. And I promised you last December that for the first 6 or 7 months of this year, I would talk about things that were um, more important to us as a people. But the world we live in is so volatile, certain things I just can't ignore as we talk about, you know, current events. So some of those things we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about Korea. We're going to talk about opposition to Biden. Um, we're going to talk a little bit about Bidenomics. I thought that was cute. We're going to talk a little bit about Biden's disposition because I heard something and I don't know, but I figure if they had the cojones to go on a show like CNN and talk about it, then it had to have some validity. And I could just imagine what kind of flack they caught as a result of it. I got an email today and said, this was my last chance to become, a primary donor in reelecting Biden and Kamala Harris. And I just kind of let it go by the wayside, not because I don't support the president, but I think it's imperative that we have a plan B. I think it's imperative that we start looking in another direction so that we have someone to um, has enough backing to defeat whomsoever it is. Biden is just has his heart set on, you know, Biden Trump, part two, uh, the rematch. And honestly, I don't know if that's going to happen. Honestly, I think if they threw us, if you ever played sports, and let's say the starting quarterback was Joe Montana, and you set up your defense to fight Joe Montana, and something happened, and Bill Walsh decided to put Steve Young in. It would throw a monkey wrench into your defensive scheme, and you might recover or not. So, with that being said, we have to think that same analogy when it comes to politics. We have to think that same analogy when um, we have all our eggs in the Biden basket. And what if he's running against Mike Pence? What if he's running against, I don't know, this knucklehead from down the road? I don't know that he would have the same success that he had with Trump. Um, there were a lot of people that were tired of Trump, but then there are a lot of Democrats and the independents who are who feel some trepidation and fear of Biden for another 4 years. So I was hoping that at some point he would say to himself, but um, after hearing some things, I know it's not going to happen. So sometimes we have to step up and make people's mind up for them. So with that being said, it's about, I don't know, 10 past the half. So I'm going to go ahead and say good evening. Welcome to the show. My name is Hank Batiste. This is OMITDALOGIC. Every week we take current events, life events that don't make sense. We break them down to their unfixably broke and try to make them make sense. I'm your host tonight, and the voices in my head are just confused. Confused. And I keep talking about this post I did last week where you see me having a point, a counterpoint, and I'm talking to myself, and I think that's usually what I do when I'm dealing with some of this, and as if on cue, some of you guys call me, and we get a chance to talk about stuff, but usually someone has brought it to my attention that I do most of the talking, and they're forced to do most of the listening. So my middle name might be Loquacious. I don't know, but it is what it is. The voices in my head are confused. I'm looking at where we are as a country. I'm looking at where we are in what I call the scheme of this world, where the world is far as politics are concerned, and so forth and so on. So there's a lot that's going on in my head, and a lot of it I don't have answers to. So just like you, I'm standing by to see where this goes and what's going to happen next. So with that being said, um, I just want to say good evening, welcome to the show. Before I start my show off, I always like to start off with saying something that is very true. Each week, you guys come in here and listen to me take current events and put my spin on it. And for you to do that week in, week out, it blows my mind that you think that much of me. Um, and with that, I just want to say I'm truly humbled. I'm besides myself most of the time. I've been doing this for 3 years now. And there are some weeks when I say this is the last show, and then something happens. It may be a conversation with one of the people that have my number, or it may just be something that happens that reinvigorates, motivates me, and serves as that catalyst to keep me going. So tonight, I want to look at where we are. I want to look at some current events, and then I want to look at where we are as a people and some of the things. I never really got a chance to wrap up the us, the men and women thing. And a girlfriend of mine called me today, and we share some things. So with that in mind, I want to say welcome to the show. This is a Mythologic. I'm Hank Batiste. Let's make this shit make sense. First up, if we attempt to wrap up the men and women, because I never meant it to be men versus women or women versus men, I did it the way I did it because when I do hear from the fellas will say something to me in what I say, either in confidence or in secret. And they'll say, keep on doing what I'm doing. And I said, well, why don't you participate? They said, because they don't want to open this Pandora's box of having to fight with the women. And it dawned on me, and I said this several times before, that guys fight with their fists. That's their strength. Women fight with words, and they have this attrition or this ability, like an energizer bunny. Men never win the arguments because the argument never ends. A woman can let a man think that it's over and he's made his point and they're moving on. And then one day out the clear blue, she brings up the subject again. He feels like he's been ambushed, blindsided, and just to make peace and to get on, he'll just concede. And I tell this to the women only because you think you've won the argument. You may have won the battle, but I promise you, you've probably starting to lose the war. Because if someone can't share with you what they're feeling without feeling like everything they say is going to be taken out of context, is the dental thing. And used against them for the sheer fact of trying to win an argument, then what happens is this person is going to start to turn to someone else. And it may mean the end of your relationship, or it may be the end of your relationship as you know it. This man may stay with you, but now he has this side piece where he can find PEACE. He has this side PIECE where he can find PEACE. And it's not that he can't handle you. It's not that, what you have to say is not significant enough for him to listen to. It's just that at some point it has to be definitive, comprehensive in the end, and just respect that. So, fighting with words, you think you won. But what happens is that old cliche, what we used to say back in the day, sticks and stones may hurt my bones, but words are never, no, words hurt. Words hurt. And when women say anything to win an argument, it not only demoralizes the man that they profess to loving, it makes him look at them differently. So take it with a grain of salt, if you like, or you can totally ignore it. I say that because, first of all, I'm tenacious enough. I'm going to fight back. I'm a wordsmith. For every word you have, I have a thesaurus of words to antonyms, synonyms, adjectives, conjunctions, and so forth and so on. So I don't give up. And that's a lot of times when I tell quote unquote stories, I use explanations in my podcast, it's not just me that I'm representing. A lot of times what I'm doing is I'm sharing some of the things that other men have said to me, sometime in confidence, but they just don't want to say it because they don't want to go through, as they put it, the back and forth. And is it really worth it? So, like I say, I'll be your huckleberry. I don't care. You want to do it, let's go for it. Me and his girlfriend was having this conversation, and she was saying that she wants companionship, but she doubts that she wants to get married again. Why this was so significant to me is because we've been having this ongoing conversation on this new catchphrase, dating with a purpose. And what that means is a lot of these women only want to date someone who's serious minded enough to talk about marriage. It doesn't mean that you're going to marry this person. because a guy could very well tell you what he thinks you wants to hear, and or he may start off thinking this way, and like we say, we get into this attrition war of words, and he starts to separate himself and change his mind. So all of these things can happen. In a perfect world, we want someone whose imperfections are perfect for us. I say I usually do not tell women what I'm looking for because unlike women, I don't want a woman to pretend to be what I say I'm looking for in a woman. And I get all hot and bothered about that. And then things are happening and she starts to change. Women use this other cliche, they start off with their representative and then down the road you meet the real person. I say um, a lot of times people start off with good intention, and sometimes comfort brings about complacency. So as they get comfortable in a relationship, they take things for granted and they become more complacent. Said all of that to say this: I'm about to give you a secret about me, and I promised that I would make the show about me. But I'm speaking, and I think I'm articulating for a lot of men because what I tell my girlfriends is if a man sees you as marriage material for him, specifically for him, it doesn't mean that you're not marriage material, period. It just means if he sees you as a potential mate or wife, you don't have to twist his arm. You don't have to manipulate him. You don't have to give him an ultimatum. It's going to be his decision to come to you with this. And I say that because a lot of men like me, it's not because our shit don't work and we can't, sustain this, that, or the other. No, my shit works. But I am a romantic. I'm a diehard romantic. Um, I made jokes about when I first started to date. I thought dating was going to be like a Frankie Avalon, a new Annette Funicello movie. We'd be walking down the beach holding hands and we breaking the song. I think, you think, I think love doesn't mean a thing. You know that. And people come from behind rocks and they got the same little choreography and they just drop. Nah, it didn't happen that way. But my brother used to tease me and he says I was like something out of an old black and white movie. But his girlfriends would always say, your little brother is so sweet and this, that, and the other. And I don't want to be quote unquote sweet, but I am who I am. Now, two sides of every coin has two sides, even a two-headed nickel. And I doubt that they're identical. So the counteract that, I can turn on a dime. If I don't feel you are it, if I don't feel that you're satisfying my need for those things, and I don't have a grocery list, I don't have a laundry list, I don't have prerequisites, I focus on the things that are important to me. I don't use a moniker or a title. I'm not sapiosexual or any of that. No. What turns me on is a woman that's attentive to me. And it makes me, in turn, want to reciprocate and be attentive to her. And that's my definition of romance. And if and when that happens, I don't know where the relationship is going to go. I don't know if we're going to at some point move in together or at some point walk down the aisle or whatever, whatever, whatever. Organically, everything's on the table until somebody either takes it off the table or forces me to take it off the table. So, with that being said, ladies, I have an XY chromosome. I don't patronize you like some talk show host and what have you to get my numbers up. That's never me. I'm not doing this for likes. I'm not doing this for money. I'm not doing this to increase my popularity. I'm doing it because somebody has to say it. And if not me, then who? And if not now, then when? Time and time and time and time again, I'm saying, and I have said, and I will continue to say that all we have, with all of the trinkets and material things that we surround ourselves with all the fine clothes and monies and trips and all of that, if we don't have someone to share this with, it means nothing. Now, what motivated my girlfriend to come to me, and we have this relationship. We go back and forth. She was taking a vacation with her son, and she and her son were walking on the beach, stopped at this place. Their birthdays are in close proximity, so they were getting together to share their birthdays. And at some point, they stopped to have a drink because her son is of age and lives on his own and self sufficient and all of those little things that we look for in our children. And she said she realized that this would have been an ideal situation had it been something that she was sharing with a romantic interest or someone special in her life, not just special. And I said, okay, if that's the case, then why do you take marriage off the table? Why do you not want to take marriage? Why do you not want to be married? And what she said to me, and ladies, please chime in on this. And fellas, you too, because you're the other half of this equation. She says she wants to have someone who has their own and she have her own and she can spend some time with him and he can spend some time with her, but she don't know if she wants him there all the time. That dramatic pause was to check fellas. Um, I felt like she just took my kids and said, "Ooh, that's good. That felt good. You can go now." What? So I just satisfied you, and I thought this was a good thing, and I'm being dismissed. Honestly, me, and it's not ego, it's just me. If that were the case, there would be no return engagement. Me to her or her to me. Simply because, unless that was something that I wanted. Now, I'll be honest, there were certain women that is just a sex thing, and that's understood. But if this is someone that I'm getting to know with the possibility of this person being it in my life. So, what do you say? What do you say? Ladies, you too? Hello? Hello, everyone. Tish, don't make me start calling out names. So, have we become so selfish? Have we become so set in our ways? Have we become I'm starting to tell it right. Okay. Have we become so, I guess, for lack of a better word, have we become just so settled and content that we're not willing to do the work that it takes to have an ongoing relationship? Not necessarily marriage, but I'm at a stage of my life that the hardest thing for me to do is to share my space with someone. So if there's someone that I want to share my space with, am I the only one? Women that talk about dating with a purpose, you can chime in now. Crickets. Okay. So I see one of my Facebook pages, I'm getting some activity. On the other one, I see people signing in, but I don't see any activity. So you folks over here, let's see what you got. Um, but I'm gonna leave you with that, and you can chime in at your convenience. The other thing that I wanted to talk about tonight, because the thing that scares me more than being stuck in my solitude is where we're headed as a country. After having 4 years of Trump, the worst that thing I could think of is either DeSantis or Pence or Trump. So the opposition, none of those are acceptable to me. And if all of our marbles are in Biden's bag, do we have what it takes to make sure that the alternative does not happen? So I'm looking and doing my research today, and I saw that I think at 9 o'clock, Cornell West. Now, if you don't remember who Cornell West is, he's that intelligent brother that used to be on Bill Maher's show all the time. I think he teaches at either Harvard or Yale or one of those schools, one of the Ivy League schools. But he had that bushy, wild bush before it became popular. So he has a salt and pepper thing with the glasses and the salt and pepper um, goatee. He's running as an independent. He's tossed his hat in the ring for president. Is that a good thing? Is a bad thing? What exists is, even as an independent, if the Republicans are unified on the opposite side, and independents and Democrats are split, and we'll just talk about the worst case scenario between Biden and West, that could be the equation that tips things in any Republican's favor, be it Pence, be it DeSantis, or be it Trump, part two. So if I could say anything to Brother West, I would say if you're going to take on Biden, the best way to do it is as a Democrat and get the backing of Democrats. I think there's enough people who are feeling some kind of way that, and maybe I'm wishful thinking on my part, but I think something has to happen to send a wake up call to President Biden and say, yo, I've done my part. Maybe it's time to step aside instead of saying, you know, I'm good for 4 more years. I'm 80 years old, and 84 is okay. That's my biggest issue. I'm 63, folks, and I'm sharp. Am I as sharp as I was when I was 43? No. 53? Certainly not. At 73, will I be as sharp as I am now? So it is what it is. I heard two things, and I'm going to call this Did You Know? Did you know that North Korea fired an intercontinental ballistic missile, an ICBM missile, into the air that had the capabilities of landing here in America and crashed it in the sea just outside of Japan? Did you know that? Now, the only thing worse than Kim Jong Un is now his sister. So I don't know what's happening in North Korea, but we got a lot of saber rattling with the potential of nuclear armament. So that's something to think about. Did you know that those people within the Biden administration are starting to give little whispers? We always hear what's going on with Kamala Harris and the fact that she's lost this person in the cabinet, and that person in the cabinet. Um, But now we're starting to hear that behind closed doors, President Biden could be just as volatile and use some colorful language. And when he's in front of a microphone, they say he has a, a habit of whispering when he gets agitated. They say behind closed doors is just the opposite. Instead of whispering, he becomes very loud, very volatile, and uses some foul language, colorful language, and demoralizes people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and I think about that. I think about it as a leadership style. I think about it as other things that could be going on. So I can't speculate. This is just did you know? Did you know that Auburn University's former football coach, Tuberville, is now a U.S. Senator from the state of Alabama? And this very same former coach is now holding up military promotions, trying to force the Biden administration into going against trying to provide alternatives to women that live in states where abortions are legal or illegal. Let me fix that. So we have a football coach who has become so popular that he's become a senator, a U.S. senator. He's trying to make a name for himself by sitting on a committee and holding up military promotions. I don't know if the man ever served. I was going to look it up, and then I was so agitated that I didn't want to look it up. So, a football coach whose strategy is to promote himself by affecting those people who put themselves in harm's way to deliver this thing that we call freedom to him and us and punish them by using them as pawns in his political game. I say game, GAIN. to play his political game, GAME, to become more popular, more powerful, and looking for something other than the US Senate seat. So we don't no longer have leaders who lead by example. We no longer have leaders who respect other people's sacrifice. What we have is a bunch of despots, a bunch of demigods who will use any opportunity afforded them to make a name for themselves. Everybody wants to be president simply because they say, if Trump could do it, why the hell can't I? If Joe Manchin held up his own Democrats, if Christian Cinema made a name for herself, then why can't I use this political machine to promote myself? And then there are those of you that said, well, why don't you run? And I said this last week, so I'm going to say it one more time. Then I'm going to get out of here. Because I've been trying to hold this in, and I've been trying not to go off the rail this week. But I keep asking myself, where does this madness end? At what point do people start putting their egos aside and start doing what's best for not only their constituents, but the country as a whole? So, with that being said, I'm going to bid you guys a good evening. I didn't want to be here long tonight. I just wanted to let you know a couple things. One of the things I wanted to let you know is I think we're all on the same page when we find the right person. So, ladies, if you know your mouth is your weapon, then handle it like a fully loaded gun and don't haphazardly aim it at anybody, especially someone that you professing to love and trying to get a relationship. When I say, did you know? And I talk about North Korea, I talk about the defensive secretary, um, former General Austin, now Secretary Austin, Lloyd Austin. And I talk about some of the things that's going on, this Tuberville clown. I'm telling you this so that we can take that same tenacious spirit into this next year, and we can come up with a plan B. Because if all our eggs are in Joe Biden's basket, we headed to another Trump on steroids. Even if it's not Trump, and honestly, I think Pence would be worse. So, with that being said, I want to thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Before I go, as always, I'm going to say to you what I always say: go to my YouTube address, OMITDALOGIC, OMITDALOGIC. Subscribe, ring the bell, give me a thumbs up, and more importantly, share this message with other people. This is not sexy, but this is necessary. And I'll see you next week. Same Baptiste place, same Baptiste time. And another thing I always say before I go, don't be so afraid to die that you forget to live for a purpose. Because the one thing about this game called life, nobody leaves alive. And lastly, I always sign off by saying, I will see you next week. Love, peace, two fingers to the sky, and like your man, hair grease. That's all I got. I'm out of here. Think about what I have to say. Come back to me with that, ladies. I'm serious about that. And then think about the other thing I said from a political perspective in your individual circles, your sororities. I don't know if black women have sewing circles or your Tyler Perry circles or your sister circles or whatever you call it. And let's talk about some things. How do we fix this? How do we ensure that our children and our grandchildren, how do we ensure that we keep the things that we hold dear? Because in the twinkling of an eye, it could all be taken away. All it takes is the wrong president changing the rules, and it's all gone. So, see you next week, folks. That's all I got for you. Good night. Love you to death. Ain't a damn thing you could do but love me back. I'm out of here. Scary people, it's scary, it's scary. Or is it just me? Am I Chicken Little? Am I talking about the sky falling and I'm imagining things? What do you see? Tisha, I see you. I know you're romantic. Um, Tonight, I don't know. When I saw some of what's happening in Korea, when I saw some of the things that are happening here, and I see all of these people rising up to be the next Trump. Chicken Little, the sky is falling. Am I sounding a false alarm? Or am I, what I feel is it valid? Do you feel those same fears? Do you feel those same trepidations? Do you have those same things going on? Uh, I could always sell my shit and move out the country. But then if I did that, I feel like I would be abandoning my children and my grandchildren and their children. And I feel like I would be giving up. But it is what it is. Me, Chicken Little, I know that is hilarious. All right, ladies, y'all have a good night. It ain't sexy. It's scary as shit. And it's some Jason, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger nonsense. Yep, yep. I'm out of here, man. I'm going to give this something to eat. I'm starving.